CSR is reaching beyond the narrow economic, technical, and legal requirements to the accomplishment of significant social benefits in community. The role of extension professionals in community development need no special mention as they are trained for working with community and being the change agents of the society. It is their duty to work with different angles of the society in terms of overall development. Funding is always an integral part in working with community, and here comes the role of corporates as stakeholders to respond socially for the developmental causes. Today we have an eminent scholar, Dr. Joy Lemon, the Director General, Honorable Director General of Kerala Institute of Local Administration, Kila, Trishur, and we are extremely privileged to have you, sir, today. And
first of all, I'm extremely sorry because I was in another meeting which it ended so late. Anyway, let's start. So first of all, I don't know what is your expectation out of this meeting, except that what the title tells me. But more than that, what I understand is that it's not about the theory part of it, because I am not a professor here for this one, but basically more to do with the practical aspects. So, and also I understand that you have already gone through, or your syllabus, your curriculum has various aspects of corporate social responsibility, its theory, the various kinds of CSR and the principles behind CSR and all kinds of things. It is part of your curriculum, which I will not delve into. What I'm trying to talk to you is about your future and career. How should you proceed? And the little knowledge you should have to start with. So this is how I plan to present. I think that's what is required from me at this moment. So, so in that particular case, I will actually go through the present CSR, social, corporate social responsibility status, and then also what you can do. So this is how I plan to do. So let me see whether I'm able to present. Can you see this?
yes, sir.
Okay. And is it better now? Okay. So can you see the second slide?
Not yet, sir.
So only the first.
Just still in the first slide.
Okay, so then there's a problem. So what I will do is that I will go with the, now you can see, I hope.
Not yet, sir. Maybe you can go to the reading view option so that it will be visible.
Is it not visible now? It should
Only
be.
the first slide is coming.
Yeah. Second slide is coming.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So this is just a background. You might have already learned about all these things. Had the new Companies Act in 2013 and in August. And then the statutory requirement, which you have understood by now, the CSR as a statutory requirement. And from April 2014, this was actually launched in the country. Okay. So, so what happens? Every Indian company a holding company or a subsidiary company, foreign company with branch office or project office in India, they are all part of this CSR law, which means they are all supposed to provide corporate social responsibility funds, with a caveat that you can see the figures. It's about the large companies. What we are talking about is the mandatory statutory CSR funding. It's about large companies. For example, annual turnover of 50 million or 800,000 US dollars, or having a turnover of 170 million US dollars or more, or having net worth, and one is the net profit and all kinds of things. I mean, you don't have to worry about such things, but what I'm trying to do is that, see, it's about large companies with this profit or this turnover or this net worth. They are mandatorily supposed to provide 2% of their profit for CSR. In such a case, a few years back, it was only around 6,000 companies in India. It's only 1.6% of the total companies in India. Okay. So, but still, if you see the last line, you see 220 million Indian rupees or 3.6 billion US dollars is available yearly. Just imagine if this happens. Okay. So at least 2% of the average net profits, but in that process, the company has to form a CSR committee, and the board of the company is legally accountable, which means if they don't spend for CSR this 2% average net profits, they are liable, they are accountable to the government, they can be penalized for this. They need to form a CSR committee in the company. There has to be an approved CSR policy. And the company director board has to see that 2% is spent on CSR every year. It has to be reported to the government. If they were not able to spend that much money in the current year, then they have to also say why we couldn't. Why was that underspending and all kinds of things. And it has to be uploaded on the official website of the company. So you can go to some of these companies' website and see what are their CSR activities, how much did they spend last year, and all kinds of things. So this is just to give you an idea about the change which has happened. And you can see the permissible activities. Just have a look at it. I don't have to even read. I mean, eradicating hunger, poverty, and malnutrition, which covers almost everything. Promoting healthcare, sanitation, drinking water, education, vocational skills and livelihood enhancement projects. Gender equality, empowering women, and activities for reducing inequality. It's a broad statement. And environmental sustainability, ecology, animal welfare, agroforestry, and natural resource management, and protection of national heritage, art, and culture. Okay. More to come. Measures for the benefit of armed forces veterans, training to promote rural sports, and there are a few other things also. Contribution to PM's relief fund and other things. Technology incubators located within the academic institutions. Some of you can actually think about it. And rural development projects. Okay. But recently, it has also been amended, or new things have come in where COVID related activity, but basically to the research and development of vaccines and medical devices and drugs. But up to financial year 2022-2023. Okay. But then a new thing which has come in is that earlier this capital asset cannot be formed out of this one, but now they can actually have capital asset, but it should not be owned by the CSR company, but the implementing agency. If you're NGO or if you're institution, they can create such a capital asset from the CSR funds, not the company itself creating something. So that's it. But there are also certain activities which are not permissible. If the company, say for example, if it's a, say for example, it's a soap making company, then the CSR should not be on distribution of soap so that they get the benefit. The company doesn't get that benefit, or its employees. So otherwise sometimes what happens is that the company spends on CSR, but the profit, that CSR itself is a profit making for the company. So that is not allowed. Political contributions are not allowed. and sponsorship activities, you are sponsoring some event or something like that, is also not allowed as part of this one. And also there are certain other statutory obligations which they are supposed to undertake, and they cannot account it as part of CSR, except for training of sports personnel and other things. Okay. So what I showed you is the permissible ones and the not permissible ones, which I showed. Now, my speed is okay, or am I too fast?
It's perfect, sir.
Okay, it's okay. And it is actually making sense, I hope.
Yes, sir, definitely.
Okay, okay. So earlier there were this who can actually do it. One, the company directly can do, but they have to form a society and all, and then they can do. Another is through registered organizations, trusts, foundations, societies, or other not-for-profit companies. Okay, that's where some of us might come in later. Okay, then they should also have this registration. Indian Institute of Company Affairs, you have to register there. And there are also companies promoted by the CSR company itself, and they register it and then do it. And all kinds of things are there. But another thing is that they cannot simply give away the money. It has to be based on a project, or there has to be activities, and it has to be in India only. So these are some of the things which you need to notice. So there has to be a project. That is how it works. Okay. But recently some minor amendments have been made. Okay, there the Section 8 company, that is the new not for profit company, they can come in. Registered public trust can get the money. Registered society can get the money. But all these things should have this approval. They should have this Section 12A and 80G of the Income Tax Act. So they should be registered in that. But there are also registered by the CSR company itself, or any institution or organizations established by the central and state government, or the parliament, or the state legislature. So you try to see which are the organizations which can actually take money from these CSR funds. So as I understand, some of you are going to venture into having organizations or institutions by yourself, or you join some institutions, or sometimes you would be part of the fundraising team there in those institutions or organizations. And then some of these aspects would be of use to you. This information or knowledge on these things might be of use to you. Okay. See, now in this year, they have also made it mandatory that they need to register. All these organizations have to register it with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. There's a form. You can go to the website and get it. And then you get a CSR registration number. So with that registration number, you can apply for CSR from the various companies. Okay, this is one part of it. But then for you youngsters, there are things beyond this. As you can understand, 2% of the money, the profit they make, which itself is such a large amount, huge amount, they might not be interested in smaller projects. But then this is what we discussed so far is only about the mandatory statutory CSR, corporate social responsibility funds. These companies of that net worth or profit, they have to mandatorily invest in corporate social responsibility. So, but as I said, that's only 1.6% of the Indian companies here. Only 6,000 companies. But there are thousands of companies in India. And there, many of them still do CSR. It's not a mandatory requirement from them. It is not a legal requirement for them. They don't come under that category of organizations or companies which have this profit and other things. But still many of them, many of those companies have CSR funds. I would actually personally advise you to look at them, look towards them, because they are going to be the funders or donors for you, and need not be the large companies which I mentioned earlier as part of the statutory requirement. So let's focus on that part. So non-mandatory CSRs, you search around in your own place, you will find some companies, they might not be of large nature, but still they have a small amount kept for that. And then you try for that. Then there are also this philanthropy. It could be foundations or trusts and all. They are also, see, many of them are ready to fund. So it's kind of a CSR. Then I won't actually, I move beyond CSR. I would actually move to funding for your development activities in the with the people. And then governments itself, the state and the central governments and its various agencies, they have money, they have funding for various activities. As students who are going to come out of the college, start thinking of those also. Okay, and then there are also the national and international donors, which we will discuss. So now actually I have slowly moved beyond the CSR, the mandatory CSR, to various other funding sources and funding opportunities, I would say, for development activities. So then who are we actually? As I said, you could be an employee in an organization which is looking for funds or planning to do activities, or you are going to support individuals who are going to do work, such work, or you are going to be have your own organization. Various forms, as I said, it could be foundations, the society, or the company which you can register. And some of you can actually start thinking about startups. That's a catch word nowadays. So you can also start thinking about the startups. And there are also, I mean, in Kerala at the moment, if you contact the startup mission, you get a lot of ideas on, I mean, the environment for starting startups. So anyway, that's about your organization. If you are really planning to have your own organization, otherwise, this knowledge is for your employment and your work within another organization which you are going to work. But then trying to say that there are opportunities in that way also. But first and foremost is that when you are going for CSR funds or for philanthropic funds or any fund for development activities, you as an organization need to have a strategy and a plan. Simply thinking that, oh, I mean, from somewhere if I get some money, I will do something kind of thing, that doesn't work. So that's the world we are living in. So we need to actually have a strategy and a plan. When you start an organization or when you are hired by an organization, you start telling them, see, you need to, what are we planning to do? What's your strategy? What is our strategy? Or let us have a strategy and then a plan for development activities. Okay. So first thing, as a professional, now that you are going to be a professional, is researching institutional donors. Whom should we approach? So if you are in a company or an organization of or somewhere, you start thinking at the moment, which are the donors who are funding you, supporting you, whether it's a company, the CSR funds or others. But are there not other organizations or companies who can actually provide more money? So did we actually tap all those resources? Do we have enough information about all these potential donors, potential CSRs? If you are in a old organization, go back into their history and see whether earlier who all did donate, support funds for their activities. So which means you should actually start with a prospect research. What is the prospect? What are the potentials? From where can we get? So thinking about your donors is the first step you should actually start thinking. So mapping your donors, if you can tell me like that. So that research actually, you need to start collecting data. You can start doing it even while you are a student also, but it will be worth. So that data collection and creating a database of the companies. See, as I said, there are those companies which come under the statutory CSR funding with that kind of large chunk of money available. to various other companies and donors or donor groups. So create a database. It could be done individually or as a collective. Even I would say for your college professors, I would actually request you to give them an assignment to create a database based on CSRs as well as other donors who could actually support in a few specific thematic areas. So it can be done on online. I don't have to teach you about online research and all, internet and all those things like directories and all those. So, and also offline research if possible, not in the COVID times, but you can actually consider the government documents, the networks, various networks you have. Newspapers also come out with so many such things. You can also get hold of publications by CSRs and other things, and also consultancies. So anyway, create a database of agencies who contacted for many of your activities. This can be done in various ways. Say, for example, if you are looking only at, say, for example, a thematic area of women empowerment. Okay, then you need to only look at those CSRs or donors who support women empowerment activities. Or if you are actually looking into, say, drinking water. Okay, drinking water. Then you can just have that database. Or if you want to have a large database of various thematic areas, you start thinking about it. So I would say this could be your assignment. Formally from the college or by yourself or a team, this could be an assignment. You start creating a database of various kinds of CSRs funding and other donor support on various thematic areas. So I don't have to teach you about how we can develop all those things. So the content of the database could be, it's all could be. So you can actually expand this. You can actually work on it. You can actually think about agencies and its coordinates, profile of the agency, the CSR agencies I'm talking about, or the donor agencies, their areas of interest. So there, if you look at them, some of them will say, we support school education activities. Some of them would say, we support drinking water and sanitation activities. Some of them would say some other things. So you need to see what are their areas of interest. Then eligibility criteria, who can actually apply? Whether my organization is eligible to apply for their CSR funding or other fundings. And what are the procedures and processes, how to apply kind of thing. Points to be fulfilled. See, many of them will say you have to have this certificate, this and other things, your 3-year annual returns, or so many such things would come. So you need to consider that. Previous experiences, if any, that, and then the concerns. And a little bit of financial information about the company, how much this company can actually donate. That's also, you have to do a little bit of tweaking and researching, and then you will see, okay, this company can actually provide 2 crores rupees per year, or some other company can only give 25 lakhs a year. So all these things are, so this is the content of your database. And you can work on it, you can expand it, elaborate on this and other things. So when you are actually, that's why I said I'm not actually focusing only on these companies, because I said the companies that statutory, this thing would be only for a particular level, but there are also various other agencies, ministries, various ministries of Government of India. Go to the websites, see where is the opportunity. Departments of the Government of Kerala, regularly watch. Nowadays, this all comes through the website, so it's available. You can actually, and various academic and research institutions also provide funds. And there are also the parastatal organizations. There are also certain projects and programs. Some of your colleges also do that, actually, especially your extension centers actually do such things. I know that various infrastructure projects coming up in Kerala itself, there people have to do say, for example, socio-economic assessment and other kinds of things. So there are actually so many such things. So you need to find out. So this is the types of agencies which I'm saying. Outside the government, when I say bilateral agencies, I'm talking about the UN agencies kind of thing, the UNDP, the UNICEF, and all kinds of people. Then there are the multilaterals. Okay, bilateral, which I mean various governments, the other countries. There are also the development agencies for each country, like for example, USAID for the US, SDC, the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation, with whom I worked for a long time, or there are SIDA for the Canadians. So like that, there are so many, AUSAID for the Australia. So various multilateral agencies are also there. Then there are also the international NGOs like the Oxfam, the Ford Foundation, and all the kinds of groups which are the international NGOs. Then there are also certain specialized institutions which support, and the corporates and the foundations and all. See, for example, Asim Premji Foundation. Okay, and there are also many other philanthropic foundations which actually support. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So there are many such agencies. So you start looking at, so I'm just talking about the various types of agencies. So then go through all these things, newsletters, you can, so then you can also in your company or you in your organization, when you develop your organization, you can also see, you can also provide your own activities, market it. So sometimes people will come to you, kind of thing. So if you have your handbooks, online web directories, search engines, newsletters, your own newsletter, your own means your organization's newsletter, I mean, interactive website and other things, people come to know about it. See, you need to be visible. You need to be visible, and then the CSR or the other funders should know that, understand that, okay, this is a potential group which we should support to do something. That's the other side of it. One is we approaching them. Sometimes they approach you also. But then you need to be visible. You need to be active in such kinds of things. So we say, I mean, we can actually think about all these things, your own contact, some of your friends or your, so many others who are working in some other organization, they can also be of help to you. So what usually happens is that now even for CSR, the companies actually put out a general procurement notice. Sometimes they say a general letter of interest where anyone interested in other things. Another is an expression of interest. They specifically call for expression of interest. I am interested in this. Are you interested in these kinds of things? Please give your EOI, expression of interest, where you also provide your details and other things. And then they call, they shortlist you, and then they call, and all kinds of things. Then they ask you to prepare the proposal, project proposal, and other things. That's a general one. So initially it's only a letter of interest or an expression of interest, and then you start developing the proposal. Once you are shortlisted, you start developing the project proposal and other things. But then there are also the other way of doing. Some of these companies also do, or donors also do, specific procurement notice where they specifically say, this is the activity we want to undertake, and you send us your concept note. Or sometimes they initially itself will say they will float this request for proposals, RFP, where you are supposed to respond with the project proposal with budget and all kinds of things. So these are all various ways of doing things. And some of you might be already into all these things. So it might not be something new to you. I am putting it in as perspective, that's all. So then you start up your work. You should understand the donor's profile, which means if you are talking about a particular company, say some company which you can think, and then see what is their profile, especially what is their CSR profile, and your own profile, your organization's profile. So you start, then think about and identifying a project idea, which means the thing I'm trying to say is that you understand this particular donor is interested in a few thematic areas, in particular regions or in particular areas or a particular communities. And then you start thinking about your own profile, whether my organization fits into this donor's profile and activities. Then start identifying a project idea. Once you have that idea, you start thinking, can we do? Assessing our own capacity, or should we partner with somebody? See, please remember, in this world, at this point of time, you can't work alone. Partnerships actually strengthens you. So start thinking about the partnership. Then identify your potential funder and previously funded projects. You prepare the priorities and other things, and then start having an initial contact in various ways. See, if you're going to a donor or a CSR, especially for CSR, sometimes it is formal, as I said, request for proposal or a expression of interest, they call and other things, or a formal letter being sent. Many a time it is the informal contact which works better, especially for many of the smaller CSR philanthropic institutions or organizations. So you understand that this particular CSR or company is interested in this, you have your capacities, you have studied both the matters, and then slowly you identify somebody who might be interested or within that company or the CSR, or you approach them, start talking informally, and then sometimes, or you send a request letter sometimes. So sometimes it happens informally, sometimes formally. So this can all be done. So it's all flexible kind of thing. When you start having a discussion with them, you should be thorough about that company also, so that be prepared to tell them that you know them. So when we have your discussion, they understand that you have already understood what are their interests, how they work, where they work, and what are their objectives. And so then they understand that, okay, this group understands us, and that's how your relationship starts. So then you introduce your organization, your goal and their focus. So your goal as well as their focus, it should match. See, you are going to a company which is interested in school education, and then you are going there and talking about something else. That meeting hardly lasts for half an hour and then it's over. Your relationship is also over at that time. But that's why I said you do your homework. So, and generate an interest in the donor, especially for CSR. That's very important, because they are not really into the development activities only, and only they are interested in CSR, but they might not be into development activities per se. So that you need to actually create an interest, generate an interest in the donor on what you are doing and the importance of the issue. You have to apprise them, see, this is very important, so that then there is a mutual interest and benefit developed. So it's a homework which actually takes you to that particular level. Please note that you might have actually cursed the you got a lot of homework in the school days, but this homework is going to be there forever, and it becomes more and more as you grow higher and higher. So you need to do your homework. So why you should be doing, why not other, why you should be doing, why. So that's why you have to assess your own capacity and how it helps. For many donors, especially the corporates, it's also important that, and especially the bilaterals and others also, it could be a small work, but then what they would like to see is that from the results of that work, it actually changes the world. So how it influences the policy. If you have a new innovative idea which is implemented in a particular place, then they can actually take it forward and they say it could be upscaled. I mean, that is the way you should actually start thinking. So which means your competency also has to be explained to them. They should understand your accountability. And then of course, finally only this money matters come in. So you cannot go and first and then say we would like to have 25 lakhs for an activity. No, it's the other way around. The money comes only at the last point. Okay, so I don't know whether I should go up to this level. See, because what I tried to explain was about the homework part of it. Shall I go to the proposal part also?
Yeah,
Or
sure, sir.
Or
Yes,
is it
sir.
too late?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's about writing a right proposal. Okay, that's important. So what is your problem? And as I said, theirs too. So when you are actually trying to talk to them about a problem which should be solved, it should be part of their problem also, their thematic area also of interest. I explained that, I think. I need not have to do it again. So you have to have a problem tree, which your teachers would have already talked to you. What is it for? Whom is it for? And also to whom you are submitting also. Okay, which organization, which company you are submitting and their interest. What is their level of knowledge on this? See, if you go to them and say, talk a lot about so many great things, then if they have no idea about all those things, then they lose interest. Otherwise, you should be able to really attract them to this particular topic. And what will they or we use this proposal for? What do they or we want to be covered? What need or should not be covered? There are certain things which they won't like to address at all. So we need to be careful on that. And then we need to be highly specific on the objectives. So we need to do all those things. So this is your problem tree. And for that, what information do you need? So when you start sitting there for writing a proposal, what are the information you require? From where do you get them? And then how do you actually put it together? See, in this world at the moment, with all your internet connectivity and other things, you get a lot of information. But now the problem is, it's your skill on identifying which is relevant and irrelevant. And finally, how do you present them depending upon the CSR or the donor which you are going to approach. So structure, position it, where are we now and why can't we stay there, and or why do you want to move this particular problem? What is the present status? But then why should this be changed, or why things happen, and what are the possibilities? So many. And then so where we should go. So the proposal is where we should go, and result, how do we do? So these are some of the things in which your structure your. So this is about how you do kind of thing, the structuring. As I said again, find out the donor's understanding and approach to the problems you have selected. Teamwork and peer reviews. I told you earlier also, work together. You can't work alone. So teamwork, you share it, get the other's opinion, review it, so that and collect all relevant information. A checklist has to be there. And when you go to the donor, don't start asking too many questions to them. So then they also get offended sometimes. They don't, oh, this is a botheration for us kind of thing. So you learn by yourself, collect information, and then avoid all those things. I don't have to talk too much about this one, how to write, but title has to be attractive. It gives clear understanding about the project, the body, paragraphs and subsections, one idea in each paragraph. All those things are the typical one, but the title, see, the title actually should reflect what you are going to achieve and do. And this is how you write. I mean, I am not going to proposal writing too much, but you need to have a logical sequence. See, there are different kinds of donors. Many a time for the CSR company donors, they might not be interested in too much pages, too many pages and lot of theory and other things. They want to get things done. So because that's not their core area of competence and interest, the CSR. So you write it accordingly. But there are other agencies, the academic agencies or someone who might require theoretical framework and all kinds of things in a bit, because they will actually tell you. So these are some other things. And definitely for CSR projects and others also, you should have a short summary, a clear short version of the project, not more than a page or so, which means you can just put it before them, and then they can just have a look and say, okay, I am interested, we are interested kind of thing. Right? When there you have to have the background, place your organization, the context. You have to state the problem or the need, the project objectives, outline of proposed activities, overall impacts. See, if we do this, this is the kind of impact we will have in the society. So, and the risk, if any. So a short summary, not more than, see, why I say is that see, we are all interested in writing big, large, long proposals and other things. But for many, I mean, they won't be, when they have a detailed assessment and all, they will look into all those things. But even to start discussing, they need to understand what exactly it is. So actually, while in college, your skills should be developed on writing anything in one page. So that would be another challenge you'll have, because in the long run, that's going to help you. Then, of course, all these things, you know, how you write a projects and other things. I mean, and then, okay, what is a problem in relation to your target group and all kinds of things. Concrete examples if you have, and relate it to the company's guidelines and priorities also. So the donors' guidelines and priorities. Otherwise, as I said earlier also, they have some guidelines and priorities, but you write something else, then it doesn't fit. Then clearly mention how are you going to do it with details and figures, activities in the time order, why you selected this one. There could be other ways of doing also, because when you go for a discussion, they'll say, why didn't you do like this? Why can't you do like this? Then you can say, we selected it because in this place, in this, with this communities, we can do like this. And then you have to be consistent with the problem, the project goal, the objectives and the results. Okay. And you know about this log frame and all, which your teachers would have already talked to you, the outputs, outcomes and other things. Some of these are important for the typical regular donors and funding agencies where this framework. See, there are various kinds of frameworks which come in from time to time. You go to their guidelines and see how you should write. Budget again, as per the donors guidelines. So each donor, each CSR company will have different ways of writing the budget, but clear calculations, no mistakes. Calculations have to be reconfirmed. Explanations of the budget in annex if allowed or required. Look at the donor guidelines, how they want it. To remember, do not repeat ideas using different words. I mean, we all do that. So when you write something and then again you reiterate it with some other phrases and words and other things, use appropriate words, no informal language. I mean, for friends like you, I understand that we are all into this abbreviation world where you have your, I mean, you use this WhatsApp language, but we have not moved further on this one. So there's no informal language. Abbreviations. As far as possible, no abbreviations, or if you have abbreviations, you expand it and in a bracket at least once, and also no jargons. Because you think this jargon is very universally used, but many places don't many people won't understand that. And abbreviations also the same thing. So, I mean, many people won't understand these abbreviations, especially companies which are not into development sector. They won't understand many of the abbreviations. So we need to have it clearly. Check spelling, grammar and punctuation, short sentences, budget clear, correct calculations and realistic. So now we have prepared the proposal. We have actually what we have done is that we have actually mapped the various CSRs and the other donors and other things, all the kinds of things which we want to know about all of them. We understood a particular donor or a company, and it relates to our organization, the thematic areas. We started approaching them formally and informally sometimes, and then we started preparing a proposal, and now we have submitted, and then let's wait for their answer. So I conclude here. If you have any questions, I can take it. I mean, I know that it's too late for you, but still, if you have a few questions about this one, I can answer as far as I know, understand other things. See, another thing which I want to say, I attended a conference or a workshop in 2014, and many of the many parts of this presentation are actually my learnings from that workshop. So you start attending some of these meetings, and now it's all online available. So see, that's how you start understanding also. Even this today's half an hour or 1 hour meeting is also working towards that. Okay, thank you.